Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Sports Speak. I'm Eddie Kalegi.
And I'm Tim Moore.
Exciting day today. We have our first ever guest here on the show. Not many sports in action right now due to COVID-19, but one of them is, and that is Major League Wiffle Ball. And it's great to be joined by one guy who's leading a lot of the statistical categories all time and also the commissioner of the league, Kyle Schultz. Kyle, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Thanks for having me on, Eddie.
No problem. And I mean, for people who don't know that much about MLW, it's been around. This is season number 11, going all the way back to 2010. It literally just came out of your backyard, and now it's grown so much, so many fans. Take us through the process of how this little thing with you and your brother has soon just become this phenomenon that's enjoyed all around the country.
Yeah, I mean, it stemmed back from 2010 when me and my two brothers and my two neighbors were just playing pickup wiffle ball in my front yard, just like any other kid would. And for whatever reason, we just decided to pick up a family video camera and film our games and broadcast it on YouTube. And I guess over the years, the word spread about our league within our school, within our baseball programs and stuff like that. So we grew it from 2 teams and 5 players way back in 2010 all the way to now where we have 8 teams and over 50 players. So it's really just been a crazy ride, and it's been my whole life the past decade, honestly.
Yeah, I was going to ask Kyle, because here in New York, we don't really have many like wiffle ball programs and such. And I always wondered, like, how did players really come together? Because you guys seem to add more players and teams as years go on, as well as having a draft, which is pretty awesome. I mean, Here in New York, I'm lucky if I can even find 3 people that want to play in my backyard.
Yeah, it was definitely like a very gradual process. Like, I mean, the first year we just had our main friend group of our neighbors, like our neighborhood kids of 5. And then the next year we'd get like 1 or 2 more. And then eventually their friends would talk to their friends and just be kind of like networking in that sense. But I guess just over the years, it wasn't like a overnight thing. Like friends would just tell other friends, and eventually the YouTube videos began to like take control. And that's where people would start to know us from. And then they'd reach out through them, like through the comments and the DMs and all that kind of stuff. But really in the beginning, it was just people in my town, and thankfully Brighton, Michigan, it's a very like baseball rich town with talent. I mean, a lot of dominoes fell in place, but it's definitely a gradual process for sure.
And the most interesting thing I found was how it started in your backyard, all these years playing at Colts Field, and then 2018 you took it to the Meadows. And I mean, now you've got like a full-fledged park in a park. Could you tell us about the process of setting up and starting to play at the Meadows?
Yeah, so me and Tommy Coughlin at the end of the 2017 season, we're the main like administrators for the league. For people that don't know, it was pretty obvious that Colts Field was getting too small for us, and we're like getting to be like 18 years old, and it's just like too small, obviously, for everybody in the league. So we figured it'd be good to go to, I guess, like a park that's very open. And so that next off season, we kind of went in and had a meeting with their directors or whatever. Kind of pitched them the idea of having MLW there and stuff like that, and having it open to the public, and they loved it. And that next summer we set up the field, and it's been a nice field for us the past 3 years.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you're going to your senior year at Michigan?
That's right, yeah.
Now, Tommy goes to Michigan State, correct?
Yes.
You guys have a little bit of a rivalry going with that?
Yeah, it's been like that for my entire 21 years of knowing him. Every day.
And the next thing I wanted to talk about is really the big moment for you guys. The 2018 World Series, which your Wildcats won, and Zach Purak's catch that ended up on SportsCenter Top 10. And tell us about just that whirlwind of a couple of days.
I just think it's funny because it's Zach Purak. He's just a funny kid, and you never know where you're going to get out of him. And just how insane he got after that catch, just, he's flying around, running around the entire field. And then, like, a couple days later, he's on SportsCenter. He's just freaking out. He called me, like, a bunch of times. That was surreal because that was the first time we ever, like you said, we're on SportsCenter. Kind of in, like, they posted us on all their social media platforms, too, which was huge for us. So that was definitely, like, the first mainstream media feature for us, which was huge.
Yeah, that's really cool.
What would you say is the most special moment you've had now throughout all these years in terms of Major League Wiffle Ball?
I'd honestly say just like the out-of-state tournaments that we host, because I'm spending it with my friends, but we're also playing wiffle ball at the same time and meeting fans who have like watched us for a decade and watched me practically grow up. Like, it's crazy. So I guess just like the New York tournament we did last year, and we did Boston in December, and then like our hometown Michigan tournament we've done the past couple years. Those have just been insane. That's been insane. But like, obviously some other highs of my wiffle ball career would be winning the World Series. I can't. I'd be lying if I left that out for sure. I'd say the out-of-state tournaments are really cool for me.
Yeah, that's obviously a good experience, but also the time when you were with the Detroit Tigers and actually playing on the field over there.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, because I feel like nobody's really asked you this question. What major league player do you personally look up to the most?
Well, I think he actually just retired this past year, but it was Curtis Granderson. Because he played for the Tigers when I was like 7 or 8, like when I was first getting into baseball and stuff like that. But then he got traded to the Yankees and then eventually the Mets and all that kind of stuff. But I just love the way he went about things and the way he cared about the community. And after Granderson, it was pretty much Verlander and Cabrera. But now we have nothing really to look forward to with the Tigers of being like the worst team in the league.
Hey, there's always a change for the future. I mean, this could be a team that could get better. You never know. I mean, a bunch of bright prospects.
That's right. And with a shortened season, who knows what could happen if they play like 50 games? Anybody could win it, honestly.
Hey, I mean, I look at it like this. The Nationals last year were 10-plus games below 500 through the midway point. They went on to win the World Series. If they have a good start this year, and let's say 48, 60-game season, they could be going to the playoffs.
I mean, that's pending they even get a season going, honestly. Who knows at this point?
Yeah, well, something that does have a season going on right now is Major League Wiffle Ball. And I kind of want to transition into the season so far. I mean, we're a little bit in. We've had a few series. You started at Colts Field. Now you're back at the Meadows. And the first team I just want to talk about are the Great Lakes Gators, who last year, it was not a good year for them whatsoever. And now just so strong this season. I mean, what has changed for this team and how are these young guys doing it?
I mean, it's just the draft taking place, and we're finally, for the first time ever, seeing results from a real MLW draft, which I think is so cool to see and provides a whole new dynamic to the league. So guys like Brendan Jorgensen and Chris Cheatham, who have pretty much been playing wiffle ball their whole lives, just like us, they find their way into this league and instantly start making a difference. And I'm really happy for like Brendan Zerlag too, because he's 2-13 last year, and he's a good kid, and I was just kind of like sad for him last year, but now he's starting to feel what it's like to win, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they like perform down the road for sure.
So I have to ask two questions. First off, do you like hitting or pitching more?
I like hitting, honestly. I pride myself on my hitting, yeah.
Because my question about your pitching is, first off, when did you start to come up with your craft? Obviously, back then, far then, and how do you kind of start mastering all these pitches? Because I'm lucky if I can even throw a fastball for a wiffle ball. I can't figure out the breaking stuff.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just like any other sport. You get better with practice, and I've just had the same motion, I guess, for like 10 years, especially my riser, which is like my go-to. Everybody comments on my like pitching, my arm motion, because I get so like submarine. But that's just kind of how I've thrown it for the past like 10 years. So that pretty much stemmed in like 2011, 2012, and I was just playing in the front yard with my brothers, and eventually it stuck, and that's just kind of like my go-to. I always go to for when I'm on the mound.
Mm-hmm. And the pitching overall, I think in MLW, I mean, it's gotten better and better these last couple of years, especially in the World Series last year with Daniel Schultz and Ryan Cratch really battling it out. I mean, and so many guys, I'm just amazed by all the different types of pitches that they can throw and how strong the riser is, the drop. I mean, and we've seen it featured in many highlight videos all across social media.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible to see how that's come. And also still the home run hitting is definitely improving for some guys. And some of these guys can hit the ball really far. It fascinates me how talented some of these guys are at wiffle ball. And I mean, it really goes to show how far you guys have progressed in 10 years.
That's right. Yeah, I was going to say this is not only the most talented we've ever been in our league's history, but it's the most even and balanced the league has ever been. All eight teams have like an ace pitcher. Even the Diamondbacks, who were 0-3, they got this kid Jimmy Norp, and instantly Gavin Reski, the manager, gives him the reins, and he steps in and performs very well against the Eagles and gets them a win, and like instantly they're just right back into the mix. Like, it's so cool for me to see. Like, each team has their own little identity and personality, and they all have contributors on the mound and at the plate. So that's like the coolest thing for me. But yeah, some guys are really performing well here in 2020.
Now, I do want to shape it back towards the season. You mentioned, obviously, you and Tommy both being administrators. How much of a challenge with, obviously, you still going to college and also with COVID-19 going around, how hard was it to kind of start putting together a schedule with everything kind of being, I'd imagine, delayed?
It was very hard, yeah. It's always a balance when I'm at school and having to balance like school work and projects and all that kind of stuff and exams with everyday MLW stuff. So social media posts, working on videos, just all around league administration. But yeah, it was definitely tough with coronavirus going on, but we knew it'd be a lot safer to start out the year at Colts Field, even though that wasn't really the ideal situation, just with how small the field is. But we got that going for the first 4 series. Eventually, the cases, they're having a very, very gradual decline here in the past month. So we got the okay to go over to Huron Meadows and get that going. But yeah, definitely, it kind of sucks because still our open tournaments for 2020 are up in the air. And we were going to do some more public events, we were going to shoot again with major league teams and other content creators. So those kind of fell through, which I'm kind of sad about. But nothing really I can do about it, and just have to move forward.
And you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. I mean, there's obviously some of those things you're missing out on, but at the same time, we're hearing so many people mentioning Major League Wiffle Ball on Twitter. You recently had the opportunity to go on a Big Cat show on Barstool Sports. I mean, people are noticing MLW because right now there's very little sports going on. People still need that fix, and you guys are really helping to fill a void.
Yeah, that was kind of one of my goals coming into this season, is kind of get more of a publicity push, because up until this year we never really had mainstream articles or mentions from big personalities like a Big Cat or like SB Nation, who wrote a little article about us and stuff like that. So we knew we could definitely take advantage of this period where there's really no sports going on, and if we provide the content where it's good enough, people are going to watch, then they're going to talk about it on social media, which is happened. So I'm very happy about that.
So talk to me a little bit as wiffle ball as a sport. In my opinion, it's obviously the hardest sport compared to a baseball and a softball. I mean, what makes it so unique compared to baseball and softball?
I mean, it's just the violent movement. It's crazy to try to hit these pitches, and the velocity it's coming in at, and the amount of curve. It's really hard, especially with that skinny yellow bat. Not a lot of people know how hard it is to hit with that thing, but and then pitching side, that ball is curving so many different directions. It's hard to make it accurate and not walk in everybody. So I guess those are the 2 main things. But once you get around to it, once you start locating your pitches, and once you start, figuring out what pitchers do, and you put together a homer, then it's the best feeling in the world. And that's what keeps you going. But definitely just, the amount of variation of pitches and arm angles and motions, that's what makes it tough. It's super tough.
Would you like to see more colleges and high schools pick them up as club sports and activities?
I'm all for it. I know a lot of colleges just have it'd be an intramural type thing, but nothing too serious. But that's actually an idea I thought about in the past, but it never really came to be. But me and Tommy had the idea of doing Big Ten wiffle ball. So I'd make a team with Michigan, make it a club team, and then he'd make a team with state, and then my brother went to Purdue, and we kind of make this little meet up tournament type deal. But I think that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely sounds exciting. Now, I got to ask you, as you're quite the two-way player, a pitcher and a hitter, who is the toughest person to strike out on the mound, and who's the hardest pitcher to handle when you're up at bat?
That's such a tough question. There's so many good hitters and pitchers in this league. I'd say first to the hardest to hit off of, I think right now would be Ryan Cratch. Just with how many pitches he has, and I haven't hit him in 2 years, but it never used to be like that. He's really dedicated himself to wiffle ball, and he's practiced so much, so I'd have to say him. But the single hardest pitch to probably hit would probably be Daniel Schultz's knuckle drop. It just comes in so high, it's just so hard to time up and stuff. In terms of hitting, I'd probably have to go with Daniel too, just because I've faced him so many times in my life. He knows exactly what I have, so it's really hard to get him off timing. I'm trying to think another guy. There's just so many guys, but I'll go with Daniel, and maybe Tommy Coughlin's 12-6 drop. That's another pitch that's super insane to hit.
Now, you're closing in as well on a bunch of accolades. For example, I believe 1,000 career strikeouts. Of these accolades, which ones are you looking most forward to?
Honestly, man, I'm just trying to win another World Series. I think that'd be so cool to get 7. That'd be just put me, not to call myself Brady or Jordan, but if I get 7, that'd be insane.
It'd be cool to see that at Sports Center.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you're talking about your team. I'd be remiss if we don't talk about it. The Western Wildcats. I mean, last year was a tough year for you guys, but this year you guys starting to rebound. You got Aguilar now playing for you guys. You had a nice draft pick. I mean, and you're still bringing back the World Series guys. You got Zach Purek, Ryan Kelly still on that roster. I mean, what are you guys looking at going forwards? We're still early in the season. How can you guys compete with people like the Preds and the Cobras in the American League?
Yeah, the first series we played against the Gators, I mean, a lot of people are kind of getting a little misconception because it's the Gators, but they're a really good team, and I thought we actually played pretty well. But not to give away the next series, but I think we played really well against the Magic too. So the fans will start seeing here that the Wildcats are playing better than last year for sure. I'm very happy about my draft pick, Nick Saylor. He's a really good hitter, and I was able to bounce back on the mound a little bit, so I was very happy about that. But pretty much just like, I don't know, we've been doing a little film study, so looking at that against the Preds and Cobras and stuff like that, and just practicing, taking BP and trying to get around to guys who we know we're going to see in the future, so like Drew Davis and Ryan Kratch, because anything can happen in these wiffle ball games, especially the playoffs. So first step is just to get into the playoffs, and then anything can happen.
Well, you just kind of mentioned it. I was going to ask, how much input do you guys put in terms of scouting and trying to figure out? Obviously, you see these guys a bunch, but in terms of finding their weaknesses, I'd imagine you guys really do analyze it a lot.
It's honestly, yeah, it's more than you think, because all of our footage is online for everybody to see, for all the managers to see, and it's like, why would you not use that to your advantage? See what they throw on 2-strike pitches, see what they throw to lead off hitters and stuff like that. So some guys do it more than other guys. I know Drew Davis is a big film guy. He tells me every single series, like he knows what's coming. I try to do that as well. A lot of the veteran guys will do that. I don't know if the rookies know about that too much yet, but they'll come to know for sure.
And, there's always the element of the feel-good story, too, in sports. And I want to talk about a couple that we've had very recently. One thing was just very funny was with Sean Flynn with his dental appointment walk-off home run.
Crazy.
The Preds. And then also Clayton Price coming back. He's been really strong after his injury on the mound and then hitting his first home run in the last series against the D-backs. I mean, it's really nice to see not just great games, a lot of action in this league, but also some really nice stories as well. Yeah,
for sure. I love the storylines, like Clayton Price. It seems like it was yesterday. He got into a really bad lawn mowing accident, and it's just kind of surreal, because I just feels like yesterday I was in that hospital meeting him, and to think that he's here not even a year later, playing just like as if nothing happened. It's like really cool to see. And then another guy like Sean too. Like that's just kind of funny, where he had a dentist appointment. Like that was literally going to be his last at bat before he left, and he hit a homer. So just little things like that makes the video that much better, and I was just so happy that happened.
Of the recent rookies that have gone through the system, who would you say is probably the best rookie in the bunch?
I'd probably say Brendan Jorgensen. He had a really good series. You'll see in the next video that's about to drop. I'm editing it currently. It was against the Mallards. He just pretty much has every pitch there is. And he actually has Tommy's drop ball, and it's even faster than it. But I'm always on him on the speed limit issue. But once we get that figured out, he'll still be pretty dominant. But he for sure can do it on both sides of the plate too.
Yeah, and two more things I wanted to do before we wrap things up. First off, from your perspective as a Wildcats player, I know you mentioned how balanced this league is, more so than any other year. But give me a couple teams we should really keep our eye on going forwards as this season progresses.
Number one, for sure, the Gators, as much as that is going to surprise people. And then number two, definitely the Preds again. I think that's a very possible World Series matchup. And it's crazy because that's the next matchup for both of them. They played, I think, Wednesday this week. So that's going to be very interesting to see. We're trying to do everything we can to knock off the Preds. But another team to keep an eye on is the Cobras, if I could pick a third one. I think they have all the pieces as well.
And last thing to wrap things up today, I mean, you guys have grown so much in these last couple of years from SportsCenter. You got a TikTok now. You got merch. I mean, you got a lot of things. What are some of your goals going forwards here with Major League Wiffle Ball?
My biggest goal is to grow our national tournament circuit system, where we have regional tournaments all building up to one national championship tournament. And another one of my ultimate goals for MLW is to have our own facility and own stadium. That's my biggest goal.
Well, it's been a great year for you guys so far, and expecting more excitement to come. Kyle Schultz, Commissioner of Major League Wiffle Ball, thanks so much for joining us today on Sports Speak.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, so just wrapping up today. On Thursday, we will have another new episode. Me and Tim will be talking about all the latest in sports, including our Belmont Stakes picks that we had back for Sunday. Tim's came close. Mine did not. We'll talk about that and more. But until then, we'll see you next time. I'm Eddie Kalegi.
And I'm Tim Moore.
We'll see you. This is Sports Speak.